It was supposed to be just another changing of the guard, rigid lines, polished boots, and unbroken silence. But as the sharp clack of heels echoed across the courtyard, all eyes turned to the little girl in the wheelchair who dared to salute. A man trained never to break formation. Her small hand trembled as she raised it slowly, her fingers curling into the imperfect shape of a salute. The guards marched past her, their eyes fixed forward, their faces carved from stone. No one stopped. No one blinked. It was as if she were invisible. Except to him, the royal guard's jaw tightened, his chest rising in slow, measured breaths. For a moment, he stood still, bound by centuries of unspoken rules. His orders were clear: no engagement, no deviation, absolute silence. But there she was, a child, fragile yet brave, her legs motionless, her spirit undeniable. Her name was Emily, 7 years old, born with a rare condition that left her unable to walk. Hospitals had become her playground, and white ceilings her skies. Yet, through every surgery and every painful day, she clung to a single dream: to see the royal guards in person, to feel, just once, what honor looked like. Her father, a former soldier himself, had told her stories. Stories of men who stood tall no matter what. Men who would rather face storms than break their stance. She admired them, not for their strength, but for their discipline, for their silent courage. The day her father passed, taken too soon by the very battlefield he once survived, Emily made a promise to herself. She would visit the palace and honor him in her own way, with the only salute her tiny body could give. When the day finally came, Emily sat in the front row, her wheelchair pushed carefully by her mother. The crowd was thick, the sun harsh. People shuffled for photos, their phones lifted like shields, their attention on the ceremony, not the little girl no one noticed when Emily first raised her hand. No one, except the guard that he had seen her immediately. His name was Thomas, a man who wore his uniform not for vanity, but because it connected him to something bigger. He had served before, quiet missions, forgotten wars. He knew what sacrifice tasted like, and he could see the weight Emily carried in her young eyes. But he was trapped in the silent cage of duty. To break formation was to break protocol. To move was to risk disgrace. Still, as his company passed by, something in him shifted. A memory of a fallen comrade. The echo of a child's cry in the distance. The promise that some salutes are too sacred to ignore. Without warning, Thomas stepped out of line. The crowd gasped, unsure if they had witnessed a mistake or a miracle. His boots clicked to a halt before Emily. He turned sharply to face her, and, in a slow, deliberate motion, lowered his head in the deepest, most respectful bow a guard could give. Emily's eyes widened, glistening as her trembling hand remained raised. For a moment, the entire courtyard held its breath. The other guards, though bound by the same rules, paused in silent acknowledgement. Tourists lowered their phones. Even the air seemed to soften. Thomas straightened, his face unreadable but his heart wide open. Some salutes, he would later say, are answered not with rules, but with reverence. Those nearby would never forget the sight. The girl who could not walk standing taller than all of them, if only through the courage in her hand. As Thomas returned to his place, his steps steady and his soul lighter, a ripple of quiet applause spread through the crowd. Not loud, not disruptive, but soft and pure, like raindrops falling on sacred ground. Sometimes, the most powerful stands are taken in silence. Sometimes, the strongest salute is the one that breaks the rules to honor what truly matters. And sometimes, it takes the courage of a little girl to remind the world what respect really looks like. If this story touched your heart, share where you're watching from, and tell us what silent heroes you've seen in your life. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that honor the quiet strength that changes the world.